It's another one of those action cameras. Is it any good? Let's find out. So the camera we are looking at is SJCAM SJ5000 Plus. The plus bit is important because SJ5000 is a different camera. To quickly mention the key features, it records Full HD video at 60 frames per second, 720p at maximum of 120 fps and 480p at 240 fps. And other usual features include time-lapse, Wi-Fi connectivity, 1.5-inch display at the back, wide-angle lens, waterproof housing and accessories that are included. But more importantly, the Amberella chipset and the Panasonic 16-megapixel sensor is something of interest, and let's discuss that. First, Amberella. Not a very well-known name amongst end users perhaps, however, amongst manufacturers it is very well known. Amberella has been used in the past in GoPro models, and one of their more recent work has gone into a wearable device for Google Helpouts. For the right reasons, Amberella share prices has gone up by over 100% in a year because of these big name companies using Amberella chips. So we can see the chipset manufacturer is noteworthy. The chipset that is used in SJ5000 Plus itself, as it appears on paper, promises good stuff too. As far as Panasonic is concerned, they made the phenomenally successful GH4. It brought 4K capabilities to mere mortals at a reasonable price point, and the camera itself was, and still is, a robust option for those who are considering. There is no doubt that Panasonic is a major player in the market when it comes to making quality sensors. So we've established that inside the SJ5000 Plus, there are some quality parts. How that translates in terms of performance is still to be seen. Therefore, let's now look at the camera as a whole. The first thing you can notice is the bright color. The SJ5000 Plus comes in a few different colors to keep things playful, but also comes in the gray and black should you need to keep things a bit more discreet. The shape and size of the camera is very typical of its category. Looking around the camera, in the front we have the usual fisheye lens. On the side we have the micro SD card slot, micro USB port and a proprietary USB port for AV connectivity and a few tiny holes for a mic. At the back we have the 1.5-inch LCD screen along with two LED indicators. On the opposite side we have a Wi-Fi and scroll buttons and a speaker grill. And finally, at the front again we have a mode button and two LED lights. At the top we have the slightly curved record button that has a decent tactile feedback. The buttons on the side do not feel as good. At the bottom we have the lid for the battery compartment. I do have a few comments to make about the battery and this compartment later in this video. There is no tripod mount hole either. That would have been nice. Coming back around again, next to the record button there is a activity LED that lights up and flashes to indicate various different things. The black border that you see around the camera is made of plastic but has a slight feel of rubber to it and is also textured, which aids in gripping the camera. Now let's talk about the screen for a sec. Well, first of all, it's there, which is more like a two-edged sword. On one hand, it brings in the convenience of a traditional point-and-shoot like experience. Various information can be seen on the screen easily, and the framing can be seen live, which is great. Downside is that it sucks the juice out of the battery, and the viewing angle is not that great. The bottom line is that the positive of the screen is far greater than any negative. Anyone who will use it outdoors will see what I mean. And to save battery, we can set the screen to auto power off after a certain amount of time. Speaking of battery, the compartment is not the friendliest to operate. If you have short nails like me, it can often be frustrating. Not a deal breaker perhaps, just a negative experience if you need to change the battery, which lasts up to an hour or less depending on use. Without any further ado, it's time to look at the performance of the camera. Cue the music. Its intended purpose. If it is for Full HD video, then this camera rocks. The Amberella chipset and the Panasonic sensor really pays off. However, it's not all perfect. We shall explore that step by step. First thing first, the picture quality. At Full HD it's sharp as expected. Very sharp. Colors are vibrant and 60 frames per second does express motion rather fluidly. If we were to compare the footage next to that of a DSLR, there is a lot of differences visible. However, when not being compared, on its own, it appears quite decent. Here's another example from the park. Blue sky, green grass, setting sun, hence the orange tinge on the sunlight. I think all in all it's pretty good. Coming back to the business of intended purpose, having the camera mounted in various places is something we would be doing. Having Wi-Fi to turn the record on and off has its benefits too. Saves me from having to chase my subject. Next is the subject of how the camera performs with various lighting conditions. In this shot we can see that the exposure, as it increases and decreases, it's a fluid sort of a motion, not step and step that we can see. When it's dark outside, using just the lights of the room, we have fairly good shot. The colors and patterns are very well presented and there isn't many things that raises any complaint. All lights out except for this 150 watt bulb. I am impressed and let me show you why. Here's the shot taken using a DSLR. Same room, same lighting condition, except the sensor and the lens is different. Same thing from another angle, SJ5000 Plus. And the DSLR again. Yes, both the cameras are near its limit, which is why we see a lot of noise grain in the shot. But we have to acknowledge SJ5000 Plus's capability when it comes to filming in low light. So how does all this translate to real world scenario? Well, let's look at this one. Smack bang in the middle of the day, harsh sun right up against us, and we still have a fairly decent, smooth running video. Moving on to something darker, this time the sun is still against us but it is almost set, and we can see the sky has very nice vivid colors and the sharpness is still there. The power lines above, you can see 3 lines quite sharp. Although if the dynamic range was a little bit better, then the cars and the road would be a little bit brighter, but still pretty good. And now no sunlight. Whilst there is a lot of darkness and grains are visible as well, still to a good degree usable film. Finally, no street lights even. What you see is just the 2 headlights and oncoming traffic. What do you think? Okay, time to look at the slow motion performance. This footage is at 240 frames per second, done at 480p. The motion is fine, and we would have understood that 480p would not be the sharpest, but there's another issue here. There is 2 images. Look at Mr. Mario's shadow. There are 2 distinct shadows, one on top of the other. This seems to be a software level issue which could possibly be fixed in future firmware updates, but as at now, it's useless. 720p recorded at 120 fps seems to do the job a little bit better. Of course, the slow motion is not as good as the 240p, but the picture quality is much more improved. The color still appears to be a little bit washed out when compared to the camera's native resolution of Full HD at 60 frames per second. Seems to me that this is the optimum setting for this camera. All the other ones are just there to be there. Among other things, the fisheye lens causes this barrel effect of the image, which is not uncommon. Time lapses, I love them, except the camera is not able to do anything more than 1.5 hours because the battery runs out. The packaging comes with a waterproof housing and, as it promises, keeps the camera safe underwater. Under the river water, I was hoping to see a fish swim by or something. That would have looked nice. Maybe even a snake. But nah, there was nothing there. As far as the microphone is concerned, it's not the best, and that is fine. What you hear now comes from this camera's mic. I hear a high-pitched sound as well. If you're going to need good audio along with the video, use a second mic or a recording device. So let's discuss the value proposition. I paid $165.99 delivered. The affiliate link is in the description below. The parcel that arrived came packaged with a lot of accessories included in the bundle. Enough to get me started with what I wanted to do and where I wanted to mount the camera. The included accessories is not comprehensive, and SJCAM themselves, they sell more accessories should you need. And as I understand it, the mounting systems are cross-compatible with other manufacturers as well. The bottom line, I will say that this is a good product for the price paid. No, it's not perfect in every aspect, but by most part I'm willing to forgive. And I hope they will fix the slow motion issue in the future updates. In my experience, I can easily say that the camera served its intended purpose. I haven't started a comparison video with a GoPro yet, but stay tuned. I bet this underdog will give a good fight. Now this is an action camera, so let's have some action.